got here just in the nick of time. What does that make us?
Big damn heroes, sir.
Ain't we just?
Deputy Chairman Fred Hampton of the Illinois Black Panther Party.
Repeat after me. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary.
Hello and welcome to Shoot the Breeze on Resonance 104.4 FM, the film and TV radio show where a handful of film enthusiasts shoot the breeze about all things film and television. I'm Marcus E. Acko, and I watched Godzilla vs. Kong this last week. Producer Dave?
Hi, I'm Producer Dave. I didn't watch Godzilla vs. Kong.
You didn't? You got sent the screener. Warner Brothers sent us the screener.
I had other things to do, unfortunately. It was something else. I did see the first episode of Invincible, though. So yeah, that was interesting.
We're going to talk about that in just a few seconds. We've got one of the, it's been a while since we've done this, but we've got with us a guest during the intro, and he's going to stay with us throughout the show, apart from an interview that we do later on, but he's going to stay with us throughout the show. He is a filmmaker. He's got a fan film of a Batman fan film called Living in Crime Alley. Please tell us your name, and have you watched Godzilla vs. Kong?
Hi guys, my name is Rob Ayling, and yes, I have seen Godzilla vs. Kong. I actually had to try and watch it twice because I did fall asleep in the first 10 minutes the first time I watched it. But I did watch it all the way through the second time, and well, I survived. That's okay. A review. I survived.
So Rob, let me ask you this question. Do you know which points you fell asleep at?
Do you know, I felt like it was just a piece of expositional scene, and it was just, there was a lot of people talking in like a science lab kind of thing, and
Yep.
Kong was just there. He was in this facility, and they were talking about, the containment field is not strong enough, blah blah blah, and that's all I remember the first time watching it. That's
pretty early.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's why that made me laugh right from the gut. I fell asleep too. Now the thing was, okay. Here's the thing. My issue with Godzilla vs. Kong, it is what it is, right? It's the movie. It's like that Ron Still advert. It's what it says on the tin, right? It's Godzilla, the monster Godzilla versus the monster Kong, King Kong, fighting together. That's essentially it. And obviously they want to make that into a feature film, right? Because that's what it is supposed to be. So it sells money, or it makes money. And so they have to fill it in with people, with humans interacting. The problem you have here, it's not like if you take any superhero movie, right? It's not like you take something like, let's take Fantastic Four, and I just saw a review about the Fan Four stick, which is why that popped into my head. It's not like you have Doom and you have the Fantastic Four fighting, and then you have to cut to the other humans interacting. It's not like that, because you can have a connection between the humans and those people, doing their thing. So that makes sense. With this, on the other hand, you have two creatures that have no real understanding of the human machinations that are going on, and as such should not, right? Anyone who's going to watch Godzilla vs. Kong just wants to see a giant monkey or giant gorilla punch a giant lizard in the face and have to deflect fire, radiation fire coming out of the guns. And there are a lot of fans of the series who are saying, dude is butchering it completely. I don't know. I first knew about Godzilla when the 1998 movie came out, and then I went back and watched all the Japanese films back in the day just because of that. So, hands up, I don't know what the exact terms are, but that's what you're expecting to see. But you've got stellar cast in the film, right? You've got Alexander Skarsgård, you've got Rebecca Hall, you've got I always butcher his name, Brian Tyree. I'll research his name and I'll say it later on. But I know him from Atlanta, and he's now in the new Marvel film that's coming out, The Eternals. It's coming out. Brian Tyree Henry. So all these people just thrown in there. So good actors thrown in there. But they're inconsequential. Fair enough. Yes, they crowbar what their importance would be into the movie, but there's no real need for them to be there. You want to see a monkey punch a lizard, right? So I fell asleep. I fell asleep halfway through one of their scenes, and I woke up to see Kong punch Godzilla. I was like, okay, we're back in. And I started watching, and they cut to the humans, and I fell asleep again. And then woke up because there was a lot of noise, and it was Godzilla knocking out King Kong, and I was like, okay, we're back in. Ooh, this is whatever, and so on and so forth. But you know what? At the end of the day, I know that's what the filmmakers want. They know that's what it is. I'm sure they're not going to be angry at me for having said what I said about the film. But I want to thank Warner Brothers for sending us a screener, and please keep sending us screeners. No matter what I say, please keep sending it. There are a whole bunch of other people that will enjoy this movie. And it was great for me and the kids to watch it. But the kids didn't fall asleep. The kids enjoyed it. It was all good. It was clean, wholesome fun. So it's fine. You're listening to Shoot the Breeze on Resonance 104.4 FM. I'm Marcus E. Acko.
And I'm an amused producer Dave.
And we have with us filmmaker Rob Ayling, who has made the fan film, the Batman fan film, Living in Crime Alley, which we'll talk to him in just a few minutes about that. But before we do that, we're going to jump into our film and TV news, where should we do film and TV news? I'm wondering. This is how prepared we are on this show. We don't even know where we're going to put the slots. We're just like, yeah, producer Dave, you fix it. You do what you need to do. So I'll tell you what. Since we have Rob Ayling in the studio, in the Zoom studio, if you will. He's going to be our spotlight for this week. So our film and TV news will be the interview that I am going to do later on today with film actress, producer, and author of the book ACTOPRENEUR, Jade Asha. So we'll do that in the film and TV news, and then we'll talk to Rob Ayling in our spotlight. So, producer Dave, cue up film and TV news. You're listening to Shoot the Breeze on Resonance 104.4 FM. I'm Marcus E. Acko, and I have with me in this Zoom session an actress, a producer, and author. Please tell us your name and the name of the book that you've just published.
My name is Jade Asha, and I wrote the book ACTOPRENEUR.
Fantastic. So, Jade, let's start with the book. We'll start talking about the book first, and then we're going to move into your acting career and your producing career. So, tell us, what is ACTOPRENEUR all about?
So it's basically a how-to book for working actors. So about a year ago, there was this book came out, and I was really excited because I thought, it's written by one of my peers, and it's all about how they do the process of auditioning and preparing for characters. I bought the book and it wasn't that, and I realized then that's something that I wanted, and I wanted to find out how other people, you get them a lot from the super famous actors, but I just wanted to hear about working British actors, and there wasn't really anything that existed like that. So I kind of thought, I'll take all my courage and just put in everything that I personally do for my career and just share it.
That's fantastic. And I get your point, because it's sort of, you're looking for something and it's not there. It's great just to find the market that you just say, you know what, I can't find it. I'm just going to do it myself and then put it out there. There are going to be loads of people that want to do the same thing as well. So what was your process going into writing this book, like research, interviews, structure, etc.?
Well, the book is basically, it's a how-to of running your own acting career, and it's all the points that I do. So for me, it was quite easy because I thought, well, let me start with drama training and then getting your first auditions, and whether you want to go to drama school or not. Some people choose to, some people don't. Okay, so the book is all based on my personal experience. So it's not something that I felt needed much research, because this is stuff that I've been doing for the last 15 years. There wasn't really any research unless I was given certain advice on casting websites or things like that. But I thought it was just, for me, it was obvious to start at the beginning. So I started with why you should be an actor, you know, the thing that should really make you commit to this, and because it's not really one of those things you can half do. And then I go on to talk about drama school training, whether you want to do that or not, getting your first headshots, getting your first credits. But then for the more advanced actors who have been working for a long time, I then go into my audition process, how I stay in touch with casting directors and build relationships, and then everything up into doing intimate scenes and even attending premieres and doing your own PR. So it's quite easy. I basically started by, I didn't really know, it was one of those things I wasn't entirely sure exactly what I was writing until I started writing it. And so what I did was I wrote all the chapter titles and filled in the gaps. And every so often I found new things. I was like, oh, let me slot that in there and that and there. But that was kind of how I did it. That was my framework.
That was going to be my very next question. I was going to ask, so did you just, which point did you decide this is going to be the starting point? This is the first thing I need to know, and then work my way through. So as you said, you kept all your chapters and then started filling them out. So that's great. So what advice would you give to someone who's looking to write a book like that? So, I mean, you out of necessity, you were looking for the book and then you couldn't find it and you figured, you know what, I might as well just write from what I know. What advice would you give to someone like myself, for example, who I'm looking to go in and write a book about writing, although I'm starting from the point of view of a complete novice? What kind of advice could you give me writing a book like that?
I say if you're going to write a book, it's got to be something that you know a lot about. It's got to be something that you're really invested in, because you could be spending a lot of time on it. You know, you've got to be proud to promote it. And it's, you know, I think it's difficult to sell something unless it comes from the heart. So you've really got to believe in it and have a reason for wanting to share that message. And, you know, from my point of view, I wanted to help other people. And that's a really good angle, you know, sharing information, sharing knowledge. You know, you don't necessarily have to be a pro at it at all, but you have to have done enough research and, you know, have enough there to really kind of push through, because it is quite a long process and you don't want to start working on something that you don't really love. So you've got to be really, you know, you've got to love what you're talking about.
So how can people get this book?
So it is available on Amazon. It is also available as an ebook, which is on iTunes and wherever. I'm not entirely sure where you get ebooks from. And it got picked up and it's in Waterstones as well, which is exciting.
That's fantastic. It's fantastic. And that's Actopreneur. So
yes, I have a website, www.actopreneurbook.com.
Fantastic. Okay, now let's move into the acting side of things. So when did you go into acting? How long have you been acting for?
So I've been acting probably, oh God, how am I now? 16 years. So
that's the mental gymnastics you're thinking. It was like, well, okay, so
how old am I now? Yeah, we're coming up to, it was 15 when I released the book. It's about 16 years now. And yeah, I mean, I first started acting when I was about 13 years old, but it was kind of one of those things that was in me from when I was young. I'd just be in awe of actors and theatre and stage, and I just never found anything that I loved quite as much as that. But I moved down to London from Norfolk, where I grew up, when I was 17, and yeah, I've been down here since, and it's not been an easy journey. I'm one of those people, it's kind of like, if I can achieve what I've done, then anyone that works hard and stays committed can do it as well, because I'm not one of those people that had connections, or, you know, I got rejected from drama school 30 times. I gave up, I didn't end up going, and I forged a career out of just making things happen myself.
And I guess that's sort of the same sort of thing that moved you into the producing side of things, because you're a producer as well. What made you make that extra step to become a producer?
It wasn't something that I set out to do, but because I wanted a niche as an actor, I thought, well, okay, how can I sell myself? So I started doing stage combat, and I thought, let me be this action person. I'm not the best at it, because it turns out if someone wants someone to do action stuff, they want you to do backflips across the floor, and I'm like, no, I can't do that. Give me a sword, I can do a little dance routine with it. But like, yeah, so that wasn't really working out. But when I was training, I was really fortunate. I worked with a group of friends, and one of them was like, we're going to go to Scotland, hire a minivan, shoot a film at this castle, and let's go. And so I was thrown in the deep end. I was like, what do you want me to do? And he was like, I don't know, like turn this writing that I've made into a script. So I was like on the internet going, okay, into exterior, okay. So I just kind of like figured out the screenwriting process from Google pretty much. And I just found that in that situation, I was a lot more into making it happen and organizing things. And then we did a few more productions, and I just found that I was very much the person getting it from the start to the end. And then when I was looking at, it's really interesting when you actually figure out the hierarchy of the film industry. Though actors are all the time chasing casting directors, ultimately above the casting directors it's the directors, and above the directors it's the producers. So I'm like, well, why am I going to be this little fish down here? Let me just learn how to be a producer. I give myself roles, and that's really helped my career, to be honest.
I know exactly what you mean. That's pretty much the same thing for me. It's sort of, I started off as an actor, and then there weren't many roles going out there for the people that look like me, sound like me. So I figured, you know what, the best thing to do is to write those scripts. So I started writing scripts for myself, and then I was giving it to people who would try and direct it. And I was like, hey, you're missing the point about this. So I started taking my scripts back and started saying, I'll direct it. And obviously, as you said, you have to have somebody on top, right, who's the producer. And so I ended up being a writer, director, actor, producer. And it's like, almost had a nervous breakdown, but I'm heading in that same direction again, but I know better this time. So throwing to you, Jade Asha, actress, producer, author, who's talking to me, Marcus Acko, on Shoot the Breeze on Resonance 104.4 FM. What sort of projects interest you as an actress versus projects that interest you as a producer?
As an actress, I do look for people that are experienced, because now, having worked in film for a long time, I've now, I don't mind. I'm really open to projects that I work on, but having worked like even on big productions, if it's a first-time director or producer, there just can be so many hiccups. So I do try and look for people that have got work to the end and, got things out there, because I find that so often people come in and say, it's as easy as it can be to say I'm a producer, but there is a difference between the people that can actually get things from beginning to the end. So I do I do definitely look for experience and what people have done already, but mainly story and character. They are getting more exciting, and I actually find that the older I get, the more interesting the roles are, because there was this, there's this old-fashioned thing that you think as an actress, you're like, oh, well, I'll do it till I'm 30, and if it doesn't work out, blah, blah, blah. But actually, I found that my 20s were so much harder, because first of all, I was inexperienced, and secondly, the roles weren't that exciting. And I'm really lucky, because me as I am, I'm obviously female, I'm mixed ethnicity, and it's just a really exciting time for people like me. So though it has been really hard up until now, I feel like, the good roles are coming through. So yeah, I'm quite open generally, but it will be a character that is interesting and brings something to a story, and a story with a strong message.
You raise a very good point about the fact that in your 20s, so the roles, as you put it, the roles aren't as interesting. And I guess you also have the issue of combating, or as in going for certain roles with tons of other women, young women, who are trying to go for the same type of role as well. And then the older you get, you start getting a little bit more character built into I say character, more personality built into the character, because now you're talking about a woman with age, with experience, with lived life experience, and as such, that those are actually the better roles to play for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
They are
sorry.
they are the better roles, but I think also, obviously, because it has been a very male-dominated industry, the way that men saw women in their 20s was also like, you know, for many years it's not been great. But now more female writers are coming through, and people are realizing, actually, like, you know, no matter what age you are, there is a bit more meat. But yes, like, definitely the roles are getting more interesting, and it's interesting. But by the time you get to your 30s, actually, there's less actors in your age bracket, because a lot of people have either, you know, don't want to do it anymore, or, you know, they're not committing as much. So actually, the longer you stay in it, the more chance you have of, you know, getting work.
And that's as an actress. So now that you're also, you know, playing at the top of the game, where you're now a producer as well, do the same sort of projects interest you as an actress as would a producer? So, I mean, me, for example, there was a time in my life where I wanted to produce things that I wanted to be in, but that's not the point anymore. Is that the same thing for yourself?
Yeah, that's what it started out as. And I think a few times it's maybe not been as good for the production, because you're too focused on yourself looking good, and that's not really like how, you know, your focus should be making a great piece of work for the world, not you know, personally to make you look good. So it's definitely changed the way that I'm looking at things. And now I'm kind of moving towards, you know, do I want to do stuff that I'm not actually in as well? But the main difference would be budget, because I know that when I'm producing, I'm still very low budget ends. Whereas, you know, when you're working, you're like, yeah, sure, I'll take anything. The bigger the budget, the better.
Of course, I'm only doing this project if I can get a trailer and my own catering van. So yes.
Yeah. But we're definitely for lower budget things, if I'm producing, I'm like, okay, the budget's tight. So, you know, I've definitely become one of those writers that I'm like, okay, we've got to make this so it's not just crazy. I write for producers essentially in that way.
Fantastic. So there's one more question I want to ask, but just before we go into that, I want to ask, what film projects are you currently working on? Where can people who are listening to us on Shoot the Breeze on Resonance FM get your work?
So I have a slate of about 6 or 7 films that I'm actually producing at the moment. One of them I am shooting at the end of the year. It's a horror based in the UK. And I also am doing a web series, which is a lot more accessible, and it's going to be a lot faster to get out. So as soon as lockdown lifts, it's a black comedy, and we're going to be shooting that ASAP, which is exciting. And I have a short film out called The Contract, which is on Amazon Prime. I'm also in The Intent, which is on Netflix, and No Shade, which is on Amazon Prime as well.
Fantastic. And you're on Clubhouse at the moment, the app, the social media, well, the social networking app on iPhone and on Apple called Clubhouse. And you're very busy on there, because you pretty much host rooms on there almost every single day of the week. For those people who don't know what Clubhouse is, could you give us a quick explanation as to what Clubhouse is and what rooms you run on Clubhouse?
So Clubhouse is a new social media app which is all focused on people speaking, which makes it so much more interesting, because you can really get to know a person so much more quickly and authentically through voice, whereas you could have, for 7 years I've been friends with people on Instagram and I'm like, I don't even know who this person is. So it's amazing for networking, because you can get, you know, very strongly acquainted very quickly with people internationally around the world in your subject. So I highly recommend it. It's been incredible for me. I've had 3 auditions, made amazing contacts with investors, producers, like people from just amazing artists as well. So many people, even actors that I've seen on telly, and I was like, I love that actor's just wandered into one of my rooms that I was hosting, and now we're working together. There's just really strange things happening. So I host a room Monday to Friday every morning at 9:30 a.m. That is my solid room that I run. It's called UK Speed Networking, and it is for creative people to just come in. We do it for half an hour. So people come in, tell us who they are and what they're looking for. And I just say that if that's the only thing that you do for the day, at least you've done something. You can meet new people. A lot of people are like in bed while they're like on the phone talking and introducing themselves. So yeah, that's us.
I try my best to attend that session. Not every day, but most of the time, because when I'm going out jogging in the morning, that's usually the time it's there. Drop the kids off at school, and I'm ready to to just jump in and quickly do it. And you're right, it's 30 seconds of you introducing yourself to someone, and within that 30-minute gap, there are tons of people that you can meet, network with. We pretty much organized this because of that room, so that was great. And I also had I've met a number of other people, project workers. Someone else who's on the show on this episode today, Rob Ayling. I met him in the room as well. I think it's a great thing that you're doing with that room. I'll do my best to attend as many times as I can, but obviously commitments and everything can be confusing.
We love having you in the room. We're glad it fits in. You know, we wanted to pick a time slot that worked for people. That was the main thing. And even if you can't come, obviously some people you can't come every day. It'd be a bit much if you came every day, but once a week is more than enough to pop in and say hi. It's always a pleasure having you in the room.
Absolutely. Jade, thank you very much for joining us today. Whenever you have any other projects that you want to promote, give me a shout. We'd be happy to get you back on Shoot the Breeze and talk more about that project. And we'll definitely be looking into getting Actopreneur. I'm going to download that book on Kindle. I prefer physical books anyway, so I'm going to get that book and I'm going to read it so I can see how I can improve myself as an actor.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're listening to Shoot the Breeze on Resonance 104.4 FM. I'm Marcus E. Acko.
I'm producer Dave.
And I've just finished talking to Jade Asha, actress, producer, and author of Actopreneur. That was a great interview. It was a fantastic interview with Jade Asha. But now we have with us filmmaker and a comic book extraordinaire, Rob Ayling. Rob, how are you doing?
I'll take that. Comic book extraordinaire. I'll take that. I'll put that on my business card immediately under director and writer.
Absolutely. Just fill it up with when the YouTube channel I do, the Idiot on the Writer's Block. Right, I call myself the idiot, but then a number of the experts that have been coming on have been saying, no, I want to be called an idiot or some form of idiot. So I now have a writer who's called a fellow idiot, Jamie Fairley. She's called fellow idiot, and another author, Connor Braden, who's called Total Egypt. He's Irish, so he suggested Total Egypt. So yes, comic book extraordinaire is what we're going to be throwing your way. You are a huge Batman fan. Am I right in assuming that from the fact that I'm seeing I'm watching you over Zoom and I'm seeing you with a Justice League t-shirt. You've got a Batman hat on. You've got two pictures in the background. So it's safe to say that you maybe like Batman. Is that correct?
I have feelings about the character. Actually, no, that sounds a bit more sexual way. Yeah, let's go with that. I have a very fond feelings about the character. You know, I've grown up with this character. It is a character that I grew up with from a very young age, and everything from the comics to the animated TV series to the films, you know, it's pretty much shaped who I am to this day, and it's also led to this new fan film, Living in Crime Alley. So in fact, yeah, I'm a fan.
I would very much like to talk to you about that, the fan film, which is what we're going to do in Spotlight. You're listening to Shoot the Breeze on Resonance 104.4 FM. I'm Marcus E. Acko. And I call producer Dave while his mic is muted. So that's awesome. I was thinking, oh, is he going to do it? Is he going to do it? And he did it. Producer Dave, you're on mute. He's forgotten how to unmute.
No. Well, Zoom is supposed to temporarily unmute if you press certain thing. I pressed that thing and I said, I'm producer Dave. And did it work? No. So
I saw your lips move, and I was like, I saw your lips move, and I was like, that's good. Bad Zoom. And we have filmmaker Rob Ayling on our Zoom studio with us. Rob has made a Batman fan film called Living in Crime Alley. So Rob, let me throw to you. Tell us what your fan film is about. Tell us what brought you to do this particular project.
So Living in Crime Alley tells the story of a single father trying to bring up their daughter, who is a big fan of The Dark Knight, in downtown Gotham, known as Park Row, but also known as Crime Alley. And the story is delves into financial struggle and how do we bring hope to an otherwise hopeless city. And it also fundamentally questions the idea of justice and the grey area that justice covers. With and the Batman in this particular fan film is questioned by the end finale of the film, and hopefully that hasn't given too much away. But I'd like to think of it as more of a drama, which happens to have Batman in it rather than a traditional fan film. Yeah, I think people will get a kick out of this for sure.
I like that. I like the idea of what you did, because essentially, as you've described, it's not a film about Batman. It literally he's a side character in the project, in the film itself, in the story itself. The story focuses primarily on this dad and his daughter, right? So it's just, and I loved that sort of dynamic, and I love one thing a lot of projects I really like to watch are when you have more of an insight into the bad characters and why they do what they do, and that's essentially what this film is about. It's 8 minutes long. It's nice and compact. There's no fluff in it, which a lot of fan films that I've watched, I participated in a couple myself, where there's a lot of padding that is added to increase the runtime in order to either hit certain targets in certain film festivals or whatnot. You didn't, from what I haven't spoken to you about this. It's the first time we're really talking about this. From what I could see, you didn't do that to meet any kind of qualification whatsoever. It was literally, this is a story I want to tell. I don't care who sees it. It is, and it's great. It's really nice and very well done. Even when Batman comes in, and I want to ask a number of questions about the whole idea behind fan films as well. But let's on why you wanted to dive into a side character, or I say no, you wanted to accentuate sort of the no-named villain on the street rather than focus on the Batman. Because if you're doing a fan fiction of something that is already a Hollywood property, you could go for the big picture, right? You could go for the big guy. Why did you choose to go for someone else as the lead of this film?
So I essentially went for this direction because we're so used to seeing Batman high above in the sky, above buildings from his perspective. And what I don't think has been tackled enough necessarily in either the comics or in the films is the Gothamite story, the ground level story. And that was a really interesting perspective for me of actually living in this world, knowing that there is a 6'4" guy in a bat suit roaming around taking down criminals, and yet you could turn every corner and he might be there or he might not, but you've got to be cautious about the decisions that you make. And then the reason for that kind of perspective as well was I was essentially writing what I knew, which was being financially not in the best way possible. Like back in 2017 when I wrote the screenplay, I had just lost my job, and I was trying to find ways of being creatively happy, but also trying to find new work. And I essentially wrote what I knew, which was being very poor and being brought up by a single parent for the last 25 years. And they say, write what you know. And that's exactly what I did. And then, as you can see around me, I'm surrounded by my Batman memorabilia and, fandom, that I just thought to myself, well, what would happen if you brought Batman into a scenario like that? Would he be able to understand a true Gotham citizen's perspective on what it truly means to live in Gotham? Because at the end of the day, you must remember that Bruce Wayne is a corporate head. He's the richest person in Gotham, and he won't have an understanding of that. So that is why we treat Batman the way we do in this film.
Where did you shoot this film? Because if we'll talk about where people can go and watch this, but where did you shoot? As you said, you weren't working, so essentially funds would be strapped for you at that point, and it's not easy unless you get a massive crowd behind you to crowdfund a fan film, which you didn't. Where did you set this location? Where did you shoot the film? And where? That's the question. Where did you shoot this film?
I should correct you. We did actually have a very small Indiegogo campaign. So we did have a small crowdfund campaign. It was a very small amount, but a very decent amount to kind of get us moving. And then all of it was just self-funded from there. But we shot this in Bristol in the UK. I mean, it would have been very easy to just jump to London and film in London in the usual spots where the Dark Knight trilogy or even the Batman '89 film would shoot as well. But for me, I thought it was actually quite a unique thing to do, to actually film in a city where this world has not been brought up before. And I thought, you know, there's a lot of Gothic buildings in Bristol, and there's, you know, specific alleyways which are very grungy, and you know, I'm trying not to make it sound dirty, but actually it is dirty at times. But, you know, Bristol is overall a clean place. Let me just clarify that point. But it was a perfect backdrop for a unique, different kind of Gotham City that we were bringing to the screen here. So that is the choice why we went for it.
Don't worry, Bristol Tourism Police are right outside your door. They're waiting to, as soon as this interview finishes, they're going to come in and be like, yeah, could you pack your stuff up? And yeah. But no, I respect that decision to actually shoot somewhere else other than London, because one of the things about that is, because you're trying to establish that this is Gotham City, a fictional location, what you end up doing, because you're shooting it in a place that hasn't seen, the public hasn't really seen that much, it does add that element of realism, if you will, to Gotham City. Had you shot it in London, a lot of people would be taken out of the movie, because the moment they see that alleyway or the moment they see that structure, like, no, this isn't Gotham, this is London, because we've seen it in all these films. So I think that actually works to the film's credit, where it does look, if I were to picture anything to say that this is Gotham City Crime Alley, this is Gotham City, Arkham Asylum is just down the road from here. That basically stuck with me. You're listening to Shoot the Breeze on Resonance 104.4 FM. I'm Marcus E. Acko.
Producer Dave.
And we're with filmmaker Rob Ayling, who has made a fan film, a Batman fan film, Living in Crime Alley. Now, I've worked on a couple of projects that are fan fiction films based on bigger name products. One I did a few years ago, Superman Requiem, which was kind of, it's in the DC universe as well. Now, what sort of trouble, or what obstacles did you have to go through in order to tell a story in an already established world, if you will, owned by production companies that literally could do what I said earlier, where they could have a team of lawyers standing outside your door with a cease and desist order telling you to shut down your project? What sort of obstacles did you have to jump over in order to get this fan film made?
I mean, fundamentally speaking, there wasn't a huge obstacle in that regards. Like, it was more of just making sure that every piece of paperwork that we had, and every time we were doing something in regards to the film, it would say this is a non-profit fan film, because as long as you don't make any money on the film that you make, you can pretty much do whatever you want. Now, I know that there are certain production companies out there. I know that Paramount, for example, are very strict on their Star Trek fan films now, that they've even put a listing of rules that you have to stand by. And I think with Warner Brothers, you can do whatever you want as long as you don't affect the continuity of the character as such, to bringing something completely alien, as it were, to the fold of it, so completely fresh, as it were. So yeah, that was pretty much what the focus there for me was to try not to, because ultimately it's a you know, despite the fact that the film is trying to raise a lot of questions about justice and crime and financial struggle, it is, I would say, a love letter to Batman and the 80 plus years of this character. So I think the best way to go about it that I had to do was just to respect the material as much as I could by also bringing something completely fresh to it. And that's why I stuck to the more human drama rather than the fantastical of, as I said before, just a man dressed in a flamboyant Batman suit. You know, it's yeah.
Which Batman did you base your Batman on? So you've had the Affleck, you've had Christian Bale, you've had Michael Keaton, and that's just a big rest on the small screen, and you have Conroy on the animation and so on. Which Batman did you base your Batman on?
See, I feel like I'm cheating again here because I kind of want to say all of them, but at the same time, like the most obvious one that you'll see on the screen is the Michael Keaton look, because we've got the cowl and we've got the faux leather cape. But in terms of the color scheme and the actual overall aesthetic of the actual film itself, I would ultimately say that my goal was to kind of bring a Batman the Animated TV series episode to life. And especially with the color scheme of the suit being gray and the inside of the cape being dark blue, so similar to that picture in the background just there. It's because that is, for me, the definitive Batman that we have seen. And we can say that we've seen him on the big screen, of course, with Mask of the Phantasm as well. And yeah, for me, the the film noir aesthetic of Batman the Animated TV series is the perfect way to bring in that character and that world. And I really love that. And I thought to myself that that is something you can make accessible to a general audience. And for me, that's why we, although many people believe that this is set in the 89 Batman universe, even though vice versa, those two properties are influencing one another. So, you know, you've got the 89 and Batman Returns being a complete spin-off kind of to Batman the Animated TV series, and having the influences there. So it's almost like a shared universe almost, that, and shared influence there. So yeah.
You planning on stepping foot back into the world of Gotham to make any more fan fiction films?
Oh, this is such a tough one. So I would love to say, no, do you know what I will say this. Living Crime Alley is its own standalone piece. I don't see it being like a sequel, like, what would that even be? Living in Crime Alley 2, Even More Crime? Or, you know, Fathers for Justice.
Crime harder. Crime harder.
Yeah. God, that's so much better. Live Free, Crime Alley. Yeah. I see Living in Crime Alley as a standalone film. However, if DC or HBO were to come to me and say, do you want to, you know, do a Gothamite story series, you know, like a series entirely based on Gotham citizens' perspective of how they view the Batman, then yeah, absolutely, you're damn right, I'll take that opportunity, because, you know, there are more stories you can tell about Gotham citizens, because ultimately these are people that we can identify with. You know, even if we can't always identify with Batman through either the fact that he's rich or that he has all these, you know, fantasy elements to him, he is still a human being at the end of the day who is using his grief as a form of, you know, power and weapon, you know, and that's something we can all inspire to. But the Gotham citizens in this are very much us, and that is something that carries through into the Gotham universe. And I would love to go back to Gotham if it was to keep telling those perspectives, or if they ended up saying, do you know what, kid, you got something, we'll give you Batman Beyond. That's my dream project. I would love that as well. But put it this way, whether it's in fan film form or HBO Max or DC Entertainment form, I will be returning to Gotham one day.
Well, HBO Max are looking for tons of projects, obviously, to fill, to try and get that, you know, get more subscribers in. So you never know if they, hey, we've got a connection with Warner Brothers. It's a very tenuous connection. They want us to promote their stuff, so they send us links. So it's great. And you know what? If anyone in HBO Max or Warner Brothers are listening, you should go and check out Living in Crime Alley, made by Rob Ayling. Rob, where can people find this movie?
They can find this on YouTube. It's just Living in Crime Alley Batman fan film, and it's just there.
Excellent. Producer Dave, you had a comment to make?
Yeah, I'm really glad you made the film, because you obviously are focusing on something that we don't see in normal Batman things, which is that you're talking about the Gothamites themselves. And I always wondered why they never really showed Batman tackling the low-level crime that was going on. It was always the Fantasticals, the Penguins, you know, all those other people. And it's one of those things that kind of turned me off it, if you see what I'm saying, because he was always going for the big fish, but all the people living in the city were still suffering, and that makes it interesting as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
No, thank you. I really do appreciate that.
No, it's a very, very good film. Very good film. Rob, thank you very much for joining us. You have been listening to Shoot the Breeze on Resonance 104.4 FM. I'm Marcus E. Acko.
I'm producer Dave.
In fact, I kind of skipped into the wrap up of the show bit because I wanted to thank Rob and ask him really quickly. Rob, what are you doing? Are you working on any other projects that you'd like to talk about now, or are you sort of keeping that hush hush because it's in development?
I mean, there are a few things that I'm working on that are in development. I'm working on not one but two feature films. One of them will be my feature film debut, I hope, in either this year or in the next year. So that's really exciting. And then in the meantime, I'm just working on other short film productions, and one in particular that I just released to the film festival circuit is a short documentary that I made in the first national lockdown. And it's doing pretty well at the moment in terms of the festival circuit, and we hope to continue that throughout the rest of the year.
What's it called?
Sorry, it's called Hands. It's a 90-second micro short.
I look forward to seeing that.
Rob, thank you very much. You're going to be welcome onto the show as whenever you're ready to come in and talk about any of your projects. We're happy to have you on. And to be honest, after having watched Living in Crime Alley, I'm actually looking forward to working with you as a filmmaker, and we can talk about that off air, no problem. So thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Not a problem. You've been listening to Shoot the Breeze on Resonance 104.4 FM. We want to thank all of you very much for listening to us, keeping, still staying with us even through my ramblings and through producer Dave, his producer Dave's quiet moments and muted moments. just wanted to throw him under the bus there, but then I thought different about it.
Hang on, Marcus. Now that you've thrown me under the bus, how about we have a quick chat about the BAFTAs this weekend?
Yes, that's right, because BAFTAs is this weekend, isn't it? Yes, that's fantastic. See, that's why you're called Producer Dave. You make sure I stay on topic and look at some of the important film and TV news in the film and TV news segment of this show. So 2021 British Academy Film Awards, also known as the BAFTA, is going to be happening. Plenty of films on both on demand and on the big screen, even though we haven't been going to the cinemas recently, basically are popping up. And I guess one of the things the BAFTA wants to do is show up people like the Golden Globe and the Academy Awards by being as diverse as they can be. Because when you look at the people who are being nominated in many of the major categories, a lot of them are filled with either people of color or women, which is fantastic, because obviously it's great to be recognized for your talent rather than just being sort of like a name check. And all of these films that seem to have popped up, all these performers, directors, producers are all doing exceedingly good work. And so it's great that they're given the chance to actually shine, as opposed to just shunted into the corner because of their gender or their race. So let's have a quick look at some of the films that are actually being, some of the actors that are being recognized in the 2021 BAFTA ceremony. So first of all, we'll jump in with Best Film. Now, I know we did something like this when we talked about Oscars a few weeks ago, and we hadn't seen a number of the films that were on there. So for Best Film this year, BAFTA nominated The Father, with Anthony Hopkins in it, The Mauritanian, which is on Amazon Prime at the moment, which has, I believe, Jodie Foster.
Yeah, Jodie Foster's in it, yeah.
So a number of other people in it as well.
Benedict Cumberbatch, he's on that, and he's a producer, I believe, as well.
Yes, absolutely. And there's the, I think he's French-Algerian that always pops up in the film, and he's being nominated as well as a Best Actor. Tahar Rahim, which I remember seeing him in A Prophet a few years ago. Phenomenal, underrated actor, but I think he's being recognized by the BAFTA for this film. But the film, The Mauritanian, is in the nomination for Best Film. Nomadland with Frances McDormand is in there as well. A Promising Young Woman and Trial of the Chicago 7, which I saw. That one I've seen. Promising Young Woman I have seen. are really good. The Father will take it, mainly because of Anthony Hopkins and Olivia Colman, heavy hitters, obviously. In that list, David, have you seen any of those films?
Not a single one. I still need to. I still need to watch the Trial of the Chicago 7, but everything else is like it is on demand at some point, sometime, but not necessarily now. So
Sure.
Yeah.
That's. I mean, I definitely would say watch Trial of Chicago 7. It's great. It's on Netflix now, so you can check it out. Mauritanian is on Amazon Prime. So if you have those options, you could. There's the Outstanding British Film category, which is separate from the Best Film category. This one we have Calm with Horses, The Dig, The Father appears in both, His House, and Limbo, The Mauritanian, Mogul Mowgli, A Promising Young Woman, Rocks, and Saint Maud. So a number of the Best Film entries also pop up in the Outstanding British Film. So those ones as well, really. So I think one of those ones, if The Father doesn't take Best Film, then it'll probably take Best Film. It'll take one of those two, in my opinion, anyway. But please don't put your money on my opinion, because I'm wrong most of the time. Let's jump to next category, which is Outstanding Debut by a British Writer, Director, or Producer. We have His House, which is also in Outstanding British Film, Limbo, which is also from Outstanding British Film, Moffy, Rocks, Saint Maud. So those essentially land in those two categories. I haven't seen any of them. His House, I wanted to see. I think I had the opportunity to see it. I probably still have the opportunity to see it. I'll try and go back and see it. And the pedigree of that movie is fantastic. The lead actors in it are some of my favorites. Whenever they pop up in different films, they're my personal favorites. Whenever I see, I'm like, yes, I want to see this because you're in it. One of the actors in it, I think, is the lead in it. His name escapes me, but every time, hold on, is Sokbe Drisu. Sokbe Drisu, yes, I remember him. He pops up in a number of stuff. There's one TV show on Sky, which is Gangs of London, I believe it is, and he's amazing in that film. So that is His House. I know he's going to be a moving performance in that, so I definitely recommend. If anyone hasn't seen it, if you get the opportunity to see it, definitely go and see that film. Let's move on to two major categories. We'll talk about best actor and leading actor and leading actress. We'll start with the leading actress category. You have Bucky Bakray in Rocks. You have Rada Blank from the 40-year-old version. Vanessa Kirby from Pieces of a Woman. Frances McDormand from No Man's Land. Wunmi Mosaku from His House, also someone who pops up in various things, and I really like her. She was in Lovecraft Country, and she was phenomenal in Lovecraft Country. That's Wunmi Mosaku. I should remember that name, because every time I see her, I'm like, I don't remember your name, but I know your work, and you're amazing. And Alfred Woodard from Clemency. And then leading actor, we have Riz Ahmed from Sound of Metal, Chadwick Boseman from Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. That I'm going to put money on. He's going to win it. It's a posthumous award. He's dead. Just say so bluntly, he's dead, but that's not it. Chadwick Boseman, Black Panther. I think he deserves every award going for that particular performance. Not because he died, but because his death added a little bit more poignancy to that particular role in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which you can catch on Netflix. I think he shows how much of a fantastic performer he is in that particular role. I think you should check it out, definitely. Adaresh Gurav in The White Tiger, Anthony Hopkins in The Father, Mads Mikkelsen in Another Round, and Tahar Rahim from The Mauritanian. So heavy hitters, and it's not even just heavy hitters as well. Obviously, you have your regulars, right? You have your Anthony Hopkins, your Frances McDormand, your Alfred Woodard, who, when they pop up, usually it's like, yeah, they're going to be good. But it seems this year, a lot of those people who are being nominated are a lot of underrated yet dependable cast. You know what I mean? I mean, Riz Ahmed. Riz Ahmed is just phenomenal in everything that you see him in. However, if I were to say Riz Ahmed before this year, if I say Riz Ahmed to just the regular cinema goer, they would not know who he is until I show a picture. He's been in Nightcrawler. He's in The Night Of. It's a TV series on BBC, on Sky. And he's tons of stuff that he's in that you watch him and you know that this is four lions. I mean, come on. Dude gives a visceral performance every time he's doing it. I will always champion for Riz Ahmed, although, and while I would really have liked him to get the BAFTA for Sound of Metal, even though I haven't seen Sound of Metal, but I know I can depend on him being an amazing actor. I prefer that award to go to Chadwick Boseman because my dude needs to get that award. And he doesn't need to, obviously, but, you know, it should go to him. That's what it is. Riz Ahmed can do another performance next year and win it then. Besides, he's also going for an Oscar, which he probably won't win because of who else is, I think, because he's going to lead actor, and neither Kaluuya nor Lakeith Stanfield are going in that one either. But, and speaking of those roles as well, because David, you were talking about when we talked last about Judas and the Black Messiah, which I know we haven't really fully spoken about yet, but we will, and we talked a little bit the last time we spoke about Oscars. But in the Best Supporting Actor category, Daniel Kaluuya pops up in there for Judas and the Black Messiah. What just to remind people, if people hadn't caught the previous one, what are your thoughts about Daniel Kaluuya as Best Supporting Actor?
Oh no, Best Supporting Actor, fine. As Best Supporting Actor, fine. But I'm surprised by the absence of Lakeith. So so yeah, it is a bit sort of like, as far as I'm concerned. But anyway.
Sure. So since I mentioned him in Black Supporting Actor, in Best Supporting Actor, you also have other people like Barry Keoghan in Calm with Horses, Alan Kim in Minari, Leslie Odom Jr. in One Night in Miami, Clark Peters in The Five Bloods. We talked about Five Bloods a while ago. He got nominated. I love Clark Peters. I loved him. Saw him in The Wire. I think he's amazing as well. And he's being nominated here. And I'm like, oh, you know, I would love him to get that recognition of actually winning the award. But obviously, Kaluuya is going to get it. He's going to take that award because he won the Golden Globe. It's going to be a clean sweep for Kaluuya. He's going to take Golden Globe. I'm going to say it. I'm going to put my money down. He's going to take the Oscar for nominated him for Get Out. He didn't win that. He wasn't going to win that, but he's going to win for this one. You're listening to Shoot the Breeze on Resonance 104.4 FM. I'm Marcus E. Acko.
I'm producer Dave.
Thank you all very much for listening to us. You're listening to Shoot the Breeze on Resonance 104.4 FM. I have been Marcus E. Acko.
I'm still producer Dave.
On mute again. Saying thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, we'll speak to you all next week.
Wait, we still have to try to figure out how to end the show properly.
Yeah. We'll play the music.